Are you going to MagicCon Atlanta? Well, good news. If you are, you'll have a chance to meet me. I'll have a meet and greet on Saturday morning or afternoon. More details on that as we get a little bit closer. But I just wanted to show off the awesome new token that I will have for the first time at this event. You like Ocelot Pride and energy stuff? Well, I've got a gift for you. Come find me. Hello folks, Phil Gallagher aka ThrabenU here for another Legacy video, and today Nine-Headed Hydra has sent me a bit of a doozy. This is a deck that has 4 copies of Lifeforce in the sideboard. An enchantment that for 2 green, we can counter target black spell repeatably every single time. Which is kind of a funny card if you make it to the endgame versus a fair black deck. And the remainder of this shell is kind of a mid-rangey loam lands sort of thing. We are very, very heavy on mana. We are north of half of the deck being mana here, if you just kind of take a look at stuff. But a ton of these lands are utility lands that are functioning somewhat as spells. Be that the Bojuka Bog for the graveyard, the Boseiju for the artifacts, the Mazavith for the creatures, or a couple of different lands that can serve as harder win conditions here. The deck is not exactly like a traditional lands deck in a few different ways, number one being the Lifeforce, but we are trying to have a Green Sun package. This gives us a little bit more access to Game 1 Graveyard Hate, both in terms of the direct Green Sun for Endurance and the faster Green Sun for Elvish Reclaimer to have Bojuka Bog available very quickly. And since we have Mox Diamond, we can Green Sun for Elvish Reclaimer on 1 in some number of games. Beyond that, we are going to have a few silver bullets here in the form of Collector Ouphe and yet another Graveyard Hate card, Keen-Eyed Curator. Can you tell what is important in this current Legacy format? Can you? Can you? As far as the sideboard goes, we have an assortment of things. We need some number of cards to give us some game versus the Mystic Forward, Tezzeret, One Ring style decks that are popping up all over the place in leagues. Those decks are very good. Otherwise, we've got our Graveyard Hate and we've got our good old Life Forces here, which hopefully will give us some laughs today. This is very much a brew. The numbers here are not polished. We'll see how it does in an actual league. But note here, if you are interested in lands with black for discard, there are some folks in the lands Discord server who have been messing around with like Cabal Therapy and Thoughtseize in lands. So if you like this idea and you want to see a little bit more competitive of a spin on it, check out that Discord server. And if you are going to MagicCon Atlanta, consider ordering some cards from toamagic.com. They sponsor me, they're great, you get free shipping if you've got time to get your order in advance, and if right before the event you decide that you need some cards, use promo code ThrabenU, save 5% on your order, and pick up your cards on site, and you don't have to wander around the very large dealer hall trying to find all of the various cards that you need for your deck before you do your 2 o'clock tournament or whatever. Alrighty, let's battle. Conceptually speaking, in most of my opening hands that I'm going to keep, I probably want one of Exploration, Life from the Loam, or Mox Diamond in order for my hand to be competitive in current Legacy. Opponent says some kind words to get us kicked off the game, although they did have to mulligan once. They're on 6 cards. I'm going to get rid of the Dryad Arbor that is pretty slow here, I think. I will just fetch a basic here, grab myself a snow-covered forest, and we'll Green Sun for an Elvish Reclaimer. I already have 2 lands in the graveyard. I will potentially get the next one in the graveyard next turn. Definitely. So I will snap off a Wasteland on whatever my opponent is doing over there. And honestly, I'm just going to get the show on the road here and attack for 3. They're playing against Eldrazi. I am willing to ask this question. Do you have a basic land in your deck? Ooh, they do have a basic wastes. I think I'm going to attempt to turn forest into another wasteland. There's a Glaring Fleshraker. Great card, something I in theory wish I had thought seized. I don't regret not doing it because I'm going to take my opponent off of a valuable mana source here. Urza's Saga. Okay. Wasteland Eye of Ugin. I'm just thinking about whether or not the dam on mana is going to break. I think I'm going to preemptively fetch and pass the turn. Opponent says you playing a well-known archetype. What's the catch? I'm sorry. Did you miss the memo of the 4 life forces in the sideboard that are totally relevant in this matchup? Obviously, there's no way that my opponent could know. And this is kind of what I was worried about. Was my opponent like pulling ahead on mana, and then like the Glaring Fleshraker and now Glaring Fleshrakers plural get to start doing their thing. This is unfortunately not killing a Glaring Fleshraker. Thoughtseize this turn? I will Thoughtseize this turn. I'm probably still wastelanding. Yeah, I'll take the Linebreaker. That is a problem card. I will wasteland. Yeah, my opponent just had a bunch of mana this game, unfortunately. I think I do send in for the attack, and I will just deploy a Maze of Ith. Sort of a 3 damage, 4-2 damage situation. This insulates me versus Eldrazi Linebreaker if my opponent were to top deck another. So Maze you, I'll take some damage. That is not super castable right now. There's this Witherbloom command for that matter. I think I have to use a turn to fix my mana here. Maybe I can have my cake and eat it too, though. I think that involves doing this, though. So I am a little worse off versus an ideal top deck. Fuck. There's that Reality Smasher, which is worth a lot of damage. So when the stack clears here, I'm going to be at 6. I think I'm just dead to that, actually. Not technically dead, but I'm close enough to dead that I'm going to concede there. GG. Now, unfortunately, I don't have too awful much I can do in this matchup. I'll play a couple of Abrupt Decays. I don't know that Collector Ouphe is all that good, and I am a 61 card deck, so then this is fine. I could board up a Caracas to just physically play another land, but my general strategy of trying to deny my opponent mana to get all their cards stuck in their hand did not work because Glaring Fleshraker is good. I could have been slightly more aggressive that game in attacks, but I don't think that gets me to where I need to go. This is a middling opening hand that I will probably keep. Opponent's got a Devourer of Destiny trigger to start off the game. I think I am going to ignore Yavimaya this game as to not make my opponent's Eldrazi Temple up for mana. I maybe don't need to Thoughtseize on one. Like exactly Lotus Petal that matters. Let's just throw down a Keen-Eyed Curator. When it gets a little selection here. Oh, just all 4 cards going to exile. Well, I guess it's not just only Lotus Petal. This doesn't catapult to 4, yeah. So let's do some planning here. Thoughtseize. Well, I have Life from the Lone Wasteland. That's the good news. Bad news is my opponent has a ton of mana. I'm going to get rid of the one that has the on-cast trigger, I think. So, Wasteland, target that, send in for 3. So we would like to get 4 or more card types under here. We have 3 accessible already. That shouldn't be overly hard to do. This is 5 mana showing, 6 mana including Lotus Petal. So it is possible for like other Lotus Petals to be a draw that can catapult my opponent to this. Which quite frankly is just bad news. Yavimaya, Verdant, Wasteland. Yaw and yaw. Ready for Kozilek's command? Eat Keen-Eyed Curator. Counter target Life from the Loam. Ah, no, we got the frowny face in chat. Excellent. Send in for 3. Opponent's at 12. And my goal is to just continue to go through these lands one at a time until my opponent doesn't do anything cool anymore. The tapping of Grim Monolith is actually like totally reasonable. Hello, Thought-Not Seer. Would you like a card from my hand? Too fucking bad, pal. Too bad. Unquestionably Dredge. Life from the Loam, Blast Zone, and Wasteland. 1 and 2. Play Wasteland, that Ancient Tomb. I don't get to attack with this turn. That's fine. Like, I can take 4 damage per turn cycle for a little while. Okay, no, opponent's just going to hold back. If they're not playing a land, then I don't need to dredge this turn. Ooh, hell yeah. So there's Exploration. I'll play Verdant and Blast Zone. Fetch. I get a basic just in respective Field of the Dead for different names here. I can do creature, land, sorcery. I was hoping to get that Lotus Petal for the last one. That's fine. If I didn't have all 3 available at the same time, though, I should not have gotten Forest. I should have gotten Underground Mortuary. Alright, no attacks, so let's do some eating. Eat my Thoughtseize. Eat an Ancient Tomb or something. Totally fine dredging now that I have Exploration here. And hopefully I dredge over a different type. Nope, more sorceries. Let's Life from the Loam. Pick up some lands. Land drop 1 is Wasteland for sure. Land drop 2 is a Verdant. Get the Mortuary. Land can go to Graveyard. I'll just pass the turn here. We're chilling. There's not an awful lot my opponent can do unless they get a couple of Lotus Petals at the same time. If they get a couple of Lotus Petals, they can, like, start doing Glaring Fleshraker nonsense. Ooh, yeah. That's great. That's not going to be the end of the world. My opponent plays out a 5-3, does not attack with it, because Lotus Petal is now in the yard, meaning that that's a 7-7, and I will keep eating stuff out of my opponent's graveyard, even though I don't really expect that that's relevant. Okay, my opponent has had enough. That's fine. Eventually, I find something like an Urza Saga or Field of the Dead and kind of go nuts. Or I can just start crashing in with my 7-7, and that probably wins too when I have Maze of Ith. Alright, no changes. Double Exploration is something that I love to see, but without a Life from the Loam or a source of card advantage here, I don't know that this is all that viable. Let's ship this one. This has a Life from the Loam, and a Thoughtseize, and a body. This is fine. The fear is that my opponent comes out of the gates too fast. Like, the scariest thing is Glaring Fleshraker or Eldrazi Linebreaker on turn 1 before I can Thoughtseize it away. And that is, unfortunately, exactly what just happened. So now I'd like to find something like a Maze from the Maze of Ith to check this. Wasteland is also fine. Palace on 0 is kind of whatever. Abrupt Decay is a fine draw. I am okay going Bayou here. And I think I just Thoughtseize. I want to stop the follow-up. Oh, that's weird. Wayscape Battlemage is the thing that does the most damage in the next turn cycle or 2. I'm going to take that. It's not a particularly great card, but it sure is the one thing that is castable off of Ancient Tomb. But I'll still take, some degree of beating from Eldrazi Linebreaker before I get to Abrupt Decay it. I'm at 9, at 8 from the fetch. Green Sun is okay. I don't need to Abrupt Decay immediately, so I won't. Wasteland, sure. Once we're in combat, I'll eat that. Where are we falling on this Wasteland? They want their Wasteland. Okay. So I think my turn here is put a land into graveyard, go to 7. I was thinking about 2 Elvish Reclaimers. I think I'm still going to do that. Keen-Eyed Curator is not bad either, but I think I am going to play 2 of these, feed 1 to Dismember, and then I can use these to get, a Maze of Ith or a Wasteland or whatever to help check my opponent's board. A little scary if my opponent... Ooh! Witherbloom Command. Sure. I don't care about the Chalice on 0. I'm going to mill 3... and drain. So mill 3, drain, yeah, and yeah. I would love to hit Wasteland here. Oh, we hit Wasteland. Fuck yeah. Play Wasteland. Let's keep that Thought-Knot Seer out of castable range. Pass the turn, and then hopefully I just assemble Life from the Loam Wasteland next turn without my opponent fucking with that. That is a good card. Yeah. 1 and 2. And that is the concession point from my opponent, where I take out Secluded Courtyard, and then any other land they play after that, and they can't wasteland me off of Life from the Loam. GG's. Good showing for the, air quotes, Lifeforce deck. Today's video is sponsored by Moxfield.com. If you want to see upcoming sets, if you want to understand commander brackets, or if you just want an awesome place to store all, and I mean all, of your deck lists, Moxfield is the place. You can organize all of your decks by folders, and you can even change the views. You like visual, they've got that. You like text, they've got that. Check out my Moxfield Pro Field if you want to see all, and I mean all, of the decks that I've been cooking up. I have a very strange opening hand here. I am going to hope that a pair of Elvish Reclaimers alongside one random card that could randomly hose my opponent's deck is enough for this to be a keep. But I'm not the best at actually putting lands into the graveyard unless my opponent is a deck where Wasteland is good. And luckily for us, Wasteland is good. Don't I feel like a fancy lad now? Because I get to now Mox Diamond, discard a Dryad Arbor, 2 lands in graveyard, and I think I just passed the turn here with the intention of getting another Wasteland. Alright, yeah, we're running it back versus Eldrazi. We've seen how this goes. Generally speaking, if my opponent doesn't run me over, I just do this forever. And it's annoying as fuck for my opponent. So Wasteland U, there's a Blast Zone. I will just turn that into another Wasteland immediately. And we'll just play this one patiently. That is a basic Wastes. So that's fine. I'm still going to turn this into a Wasteland. But I think this now means that I'm attacking in this next turn cycle. Yeah. So I will Green Sun for 1, pick up a new Elvish Reclaimer, boogie on in for 3 points of damage. I'm attacking for 6 next turn. I've got a Wasteland. Scary things can happen, but this is pretty darn good for me. Yeah, there's the scary things that can happen. My opponent just going and getting Fleshraker into play. I'm going to go ahead and untap here. If I draw a land, it will change things if I do. I did not. So now Grist is not on the table. Off Green Sun. So I think I just become the beatdown here. Hit my opponent for 6. Cast a Green Sun for 1. Get yet another Reclaimer. Wasteland Eldrazi Temple. And my opponent will need to start blocking next turn. Bill, please stop. Crying face. I need this. I have to reach my daily quota of lands before I go to bed. Notably, it's 1:01 p.m. when I'm recording this, so I think we're going to destroy enough lands before we go to bed tonight. I don't think it's going to be an issue today. On undoing whatever they just did. Do they not have red? That is a Kozilek's Command, getting rid of 1 Reclaimer, and they can replace their mana a little bit. Oh no, they were going for Scry as the other mode. Yeah, that's scary if they can keep going here. Yeah. I'm at 10, soon to be 8 life. Oh my god, they're still going. What the fuck? I'm dead. So I lose a card from that. I get hit for 2. I am going to die on the next turn. I'm just going to confirm that I don't have Tabernacle. Do not have Tabernacle. Yeah, with 3 blockers, I block, die to this 2/2. There's not any weird tutor target that saves me. Nothing on this amount of mana is going to save me. But Maze of Ith. Block, Maze, take 2. Can't Dryad Arbor after cycling. What the fuck? I'm upset. I am upset. Alright, I boarded in Abrupt Decay before. I boarded this out, and I think I boarded this out. Opening hand is okay. I'll keep it. It's not necessarily perfect, but it gets to go turn 1 Reclaimer into Life from the Loam or Abrupt Decay, which I think is fine. Ancient Tomb from my opponent. Chalice on 1. That is not doing much against me. I kind of just physically need more mana here. Green Sunning for Dryad Arbor is not crazy. I think I am going to hold up the ability to Abrupt Decay an opposing Glaring Fleshraker or Eldrazi linebacker, and then Wasteland. Tutoring for Wasteland is the other thing I do, and if I hit a land off the top, I'm like golden. We're up to 4 mana, which means Thought Knot can be played. It's Glaring Fleshraker instead, which is fine. I am ready for that. So in response to that, I will just say no. My opponent unfortunately carries some mana over to the next turn. Like, they are going to have 6 or 7 mana next turn, which is not great for me unless I hit a Wasteland here. Ozilek's Command. Sure. I'm going to value hitting my land drops here. And I'll pass the turn. Chalice on 1 is the thing. Also, I might just want Underground Mortuary over playing either of those cards anyway. Red mana is now online. It is Glaring Fleshraker instead. Opponent is passing the turn. That is nice for me. I'm thinking about the timelines where I get Dryad Arbor to try to set up Grist if I top deck any land. I don't think I'm doing that. Mox Diamond goes directly to graveyard. I don't think I dredge. That's not live. I think I'm just going to play Endurance. I think I want the possibility of ambushing this in combat. Wastelands, whatever. Chalice on 2 is actually not that big of a deal. It does things versus Life from the Loam. Yes. This is huge for me. Nuke your graveyard. Goodbye. I will not dredge Life from the Loam because of this. Creature, instant, sorcery, artifact, land. So Green Sun for 2 is still pretty good. I'm just going to play another Endurance immediately, though. Opponent's at 13. Opponent has a lot of mana. Is there a payoff card with it? That's a yes. So opponent has a 6/6. Take your graveyard on the off chance that it is somehow relevant. I don't think it is. Don't dredge. That's a dead card. Did not hit the extra mana. I wanted to play this for a larger value, but it's okay. There's the Curator. The Curator will be bigger than Devourer of Destiny. So now it just becomes, does my opponent hit other large things? It'll take me 2 turns to get Keen-Eyed Curator going, unless my opponent does not Wasteland me. That is Wasescape Battle Mage, which is going to get countered by my opponent's Chalice, technically speaking, but Cavernous Souls allows my opponent to ignore that. So, Keen-Eyed Curator in hand is bad for me. I'm going to Wasteland my opponent's Wasteland, so that Maze of Ith can stop this if I draw it. And now I think I hold back. I think my goal now is draw Maze of Ith. This will still be a bit problematic in terms of finishing off the game. So opponent doesn't attack. I will take the 6. I'm at 5. Can't take another one of those. Take a natural draw. Boseiju. Boseiju, Chalice on 2. Pass turn. Block Devourer of Destiny. Take 2. Dredge Life from the Loam. Hit Maze of Ith. Seems like we're playing towards something like that. There's also Keen-Eyed Curator lines. If my opponent attacks with this here. They do not. I will block. End of turn. Take out Chalice on 2. Alright. Maze of Ith, baby. Maze of Ith, baby. That's great. Maze, Boseiju, Wasteland. 1 and 2. Play Maze. Play Mox Diamond. Discard Wasteland. Play Keen-Eyed Curator as backup. So you're telling me there's a chance. Oh, I don't like that. Putting it on the spawn. Sending everybody in. So Maze of Ith on this always happens. I probably block here. Was this just lethal if my opponent did it in with this instead? No. Block there. Maze you. This did not quite answer things like I wanted it to. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 7 or more? 7 or more. 2 mana, Boseiju. 2 mana, Boseiju. I can do life. Hold on, I can do Life from the Loam first. I think I'm taking this. I need any old untapped land here. So 1 and 2. Play first land drop of the turn. Boseiju the Chalice. Play Exploration. This gives me another land drop. So Elvish Reclaimer is a 3/4. I want to play that this turn because of trample on multiple different bodies. So this is a green source. Oh my god, I didn't count. I needed to fucking leave the Field of the Dead in the graveyard. I just assumed that my graveyard being that big meant there was enough land in there. Oh, I'm going to be so upset if that costs me this game. That's fine. Alright. Yeah, I think it does. So I maze the 6, block the 5, take 3. Otherwise, maze, block, take 3. Actually, if this is a 3/4, that doesn't matter, right? Didn't quite work. Damn. I was so close to bringing that one back. Maybe there was a way to save 1 point of life somewhere else in the game. GG. Okay, I have an opening hand with an Exploration and a Life from the Loam. That is probably going to be very strong. Even stronger with that draw, actually. So we will go land drop, Exploration, Misty, Batch. I'm just going to ignore black for right now. We will get the Snow-Covered Forest, pick up an Elvish Reclaimer, and if I need to be covering the graveyard for Entomb Reanimate, I have that available as of turn 2. Oh, it's a theater. It is Underground Sea, though. So are we Grixis control, or are we some sort of combo deck? Not Grixis control. Some sort of combo deck. So, Golgari Lantern is maybe not nothing. I think we're going Golgari Lantern. Take out a land from the graveyard. I don't think that's going to be overly relevant, and I will just leave open my mana here. I have Bojuka Bog available, and I have Fishing Out a Wasteland available. Opponent has 3 mana, plus presumably some amount of artifact or ritual mana in hand, and we'll get a feel for what exactly they're doing in a second. My guess is Oddball Storm combo. Dark Ritual, leaving an extra black floating. That is a Beseech. Not going to be for Gaia's Will. Is for Song of Creation instead. Which is a very powerful, non-deterministic kill. So I have Interaction versus the Graveyard available. I can maybe do some weird stuff where I put a Boseiju into play. I think I'm going to draw a card right here. Just on the off chance that I spike exactly Boseiju. Okay, I did not. Alright. Veil is active. Now my opponent gets to go and do their crimes. Oh my god, I'm still alive. So my opponent discards their hand here. What the fuck is this? Sail into the West. Starting with you, each player votes for return or embark. If return gets more votes, return up to 2 cards from graveyard to hand. Embark gets more votes or is tied. Draw 7. Okay. So I could tutor a Boseiju to play and then hope that I can wasteland it. I think I'm just going to get Wasteland, Life from the Loam, Exploration going. That is more Life from the Loam. I think I'm leaving this available. I don't think I'm attacking with it. 3 red, 3 black, 2 green. Green is the least useful color, but technically the one that I can potentially bottleneck my opponent on. There's Wasteland number 1. I'm just going to take 2 here. 1 and 2. There's Wasteland number 2. There's another land drop. I will preemptively fetch, so there's no point at which this can be disrupted for Bojuka Bog purposes. and I'll pass. So whatever spells my opponent draws, they are going to cast, because Song of Creation. So Dark Ritual turns into a draw 2. Guess I'm just going to pop out this entire zone. Gamble. That's very good. Lotus Petal. My opponent now has 4 mana for a payoff card. So this is a little sweaty. We're going to see them just kind of churn through the deck at this point. Land drop. Mana probably not a bottleneck here. Storm count getting high enough that I might be dead. Thoughtseize is fine. That just cantrips. I think it's somewhat likely that my opponent ends up casting some sort of Echo of Eons style card, and I lose all 3 of the life from the loams anyway, so I'm not really sweating that. Storm count 9, so we are fully in lethal range. Gaia's Will now under, well, previously under Chrome Mox, I guess. Chrome Mox just hit the graveyard, and there is the Tendrils. Yeah, I need one more turn, because this turn I can tutor for Boseiju, and then attempt to, like, wasteland myself, get Boseiju this, and I'm pretty safe from there. But my graveyard hate did not hold up. Is Lifeforce, objectively speaking, the correct thing to do? Probably not. Are we going to board it in because it's funny? Yes, we are. I don't need Maze of Ith here. I'm not going to sweat that. Grist is probably not particularly important. Never cut Collector Ouphe. Witherbloom command has text. I think I'm going to cut it if I'm going to try to play Lifeforce. United Curator is slow here. I think I'm going to nuke Soul Guide Lantern. And maybe I just trim 1 land. I am still at 26 land even after cutting. I could also cut something like Field of the Dead here pretty easily. That is no mana. That is technically 2 mana, I guess. Yeah, I think I keep this and hope I don't get turn 1'd. So keep this, bin that. And this has 4 hate cards and 2 mana. It is still a little volatile and still absolutely can lose on turn 1, but hopefully this is fine. This just has to be Bayou here. Pick up Dryad Arbor. Hope for the best. Badlands. And Thoughtseize. Well, I've got hate. Yeah, Collector Ouphe was pretty easily the best card there. I think I'm just going to pass the turn with the intention of casting Disruptor Flute. I need some more mana. Holding up Disruptor Flute and Lifeforce activation at the same time is pretty cool. I think I just need to do this first. I'm going to stop Beseech. Well, air quotes, stop Beseech. Urborg's not bad. I'm going to confirm that I didn't have a second Collector Ouphe in the board. I did not. I think I will call it there. Crash in with Dryad Arbor. Opponent has 3rd land drop and is passing the turn. I'm just going to go ahead and throw this down. I think I'm going to name Burning Wish so that my opponent can't easily Burning Wish for something that answers both of these at the same time. See what's going on over there. Good enough to get a response. Veil of Summer is a thing. Opponent says no to Bloodstained Mire. And decays a Disruptor Flute. Sure. Well, I mean, we're hitting with the Disruptor Flutes. Opponent can just bounce. I am taking Beseech the Mirror here, I think. Despite the fact that, you know, Lifeforce could counter it. Very awkwardly, my 2nd green mana is from Dryad Arbor, so my opponent can, into the Flood Maw, bounce Dryad Arbor to stop a Lifeforce activation. Opponent considers gambling and thinks the better of it. Passes the turn. I don't mind that at all. No action from my opponent at end step. They're not under that much pressure right now, so they just frankly don't have to do anything yet. Into the Flood Maw goes away. So my opponent has whatever they gambled for. I am going to now put a clock into play. Just incidentally clear out my opponent's graveyard. That's not bad. I can cut my opponent off of green. Send in for 3 with Lifeforce available. Alright, looks like my opponent is passing the turn, which means I didn't do anything with my mana. But I guess neither did my opponent. So there's that. I am okay playing this as a land, because that means that I can start attacking for 4, and I don't have to leave Dryad Arbor open. And that singular point of damage might be the difference in shortening the clock by 1 turn if a fetch land gets involved. I mean, I am going to counter it. You don't have Veil open. Got him. If nothing else, we have achieved the Twitter screenshot status of countering a spell with Lifeforce. Okay, do I want to change anything here? Opponent wasn't really playing out artifact mana for me to snipe with things like Decay and Witherbloom Command and whatnot. I could play Leylines on the draw. They would do things sometimes. I think I'm going to say that Endurance is enough. It is probably technically better to play like Leylines over Lifeforce, but like we're here to counter spells with Lifeforce. Oh, that's awkward. That is no green mana. So I have a Thoughtseize, I have a Wasteland, I have an Endurance that is pitch castable immediately. This might not actually be all that bad. What percentage of the time do I draw green mana? Actually, pretty consistently. Especially if I don't need it in one draw, which I don't. I am viewing this as a strong 6-card hand, ignoring the second exploration. Alright, we die, we die. But we never really had any recourse against that if my opponent just turned ones. Okay, it is fully just a redraw with Echo Beyonds, and there's no priority pass where I can snipe that. So, we start over, but my opponent begins the game with 5 mana. Not great for me. My second hand is okay if I get a turn. I get to Mox Diamond, but it looks like I'm dead. Storm County is already 8. 9. We are at Lethal Storm already. 10. Beseech. And this should just be Tendrils directly. No need to even involve the graveyard. That'll do. Now, opponent, you win the match. But I did counter one of your spells with Lifeforce, and you have to live with that forever. So who really won? GG's. Alright. My opening hand is fine. I have some decent tools here. Oh, it's going to be one of those rounds. There's a Thoughtseize. I have Wasteland to hopefully buy a little bit of time. I have Witherbloom Command to rebuy a Wasteland. But I am not optimistic about game 1 here. I think it is better to Wasteland than to Thoughtseize. Opponent did not go off on turn 1. So they would need land plus Ritual plus another mana source. I think I am willing to take that gamble. Okay, cool. So now, United Curator, not the worst draw. Now I will Thoughtseize. Ooh. The opponent had 3 mana to attempt this for the past the turn line and did not go for it. Witherbloom Command doesn't kill that. Taking either one of these payoff cards does not really progress me towards a win. I'm going to take mana. If I take 1, I am already just dead to Dark Ritual. I think I am going to just take mana and hope for the best. I would love to draw Endurance over the next couple of turns. That's Bojuka Bog on a stick. I'll take that. There's Reclaimer. Do I die now? It seems like no, because my opponent is, I think, thinking about whether or not they want to cast a Thoughtseize. Down to 12. They are casting it, which means that I don't get Witherbloom Command immediately. That feels like a lazy concession. I do not think this game is over. Memory's Journey exists and is pretty darn good at rebuilding after some sort of Bojuka Bog attempt. But I'll take it. If we, in theory, untap with a Lifeforce, that's pretty good, I guess. I am going to try to shave some lands here. I can't shave too many because, like, I am a Mox Diamond deck at the end of the day, and some of these are utility lands. But I think I can probably get away with cutting all of those. I think I can get away with cutting the Grist. Then I start making a pile of what can I never cut. I think I can never cut Mox Diamond, despite the awkwardness that sometimes exists with Collector Ouphe. I never cut you. I never cut you. Witherbloom Command technically does stuff, but I think that can go. I think I never cut the Green Suns because they are Collector Ouphes and they are Reclaimers for Bojuka Bog. That is just objectively graveyard hate. I think I will get rid of my explorations. Game doesn't last that long. Then I need to cut 2 Life from the Loams to round things out. So the kind of miserable thing here is that when my opponent is on the play, I have no agency versus a Goblin Charbelcher win. But I'm certainly keeping this. But if they can just win with Goblin Charbelcher on turn 1, or Thoughtseize me, protect Goblin Charbelcher, win with it later, they do have it. I will start with 2 ley lines. 17, Dark Ritual, Ball Ritual, Charbelcher on turn 1. Cool, wasn't this fun? Didn't we enjoy this? Boy, I hope I get a little more time here. Sometimes my opponent draws Lion's Eye Diamond and I don't. Thoughtseize you. Take Boggart Trawler. Am I dead? Lion's Eye Diamond. Or I guess Dark Ritual. Dark Ritual also gets there. Not today. Mox Diamond? Sure. Fetch. Get a Bayou. Mox Diamond. Play a land. Opponent says, love your videos, can't wait for the next BNR to finally kill this deck, or to see yet another no changes. You know my vote. Upkeep. Disruptor Flute. Alright, opponent has given us the GGs. We got so insanely lucky to win this one. Like, that Disruptor Flute off the top was so incredibly important, and we needed our opponent to miss Dark Ritual and however many copies of Lion's Eye Diamond they had. But we did win. So GG's. Okay. Opening hand is fine. I would not mind drawing another non-disappearing land here. Cameo. Cameo we can potentially destroy when she goes Planeswalker. I think I'll Thoughtseize here. You know, in my head, I was thinking to myself, I'm going to Thoughtseize here so that we don't see Brainstorm immediately, and then it's 2 copies of Brainstorm instead. Alright, the Planisphere is a threat that comes down earlier, so I will take that. Because Witherbloom Command is going to get to answer one of Planeswalker, Tameo, or Planisphere, but it doesn't fully answer Planisphere as there is a small body left behind. My mana's definitely awkward here. Did not hit the land drop I was looking for in my last couple of draws. Well, I'm going to do this, and I think play this out. Then we'll see how my opponent approaches the next couple of turns. I would not be too surprised to see Brainstorm, Touch, Brainstorm in respect of getting Murktide Region into play. But we could just see Surveil instead. Okay, no secondary Brainstorm. Opponent has a lot of basic islands. They might be just mono blue Delver here. Not gonna get to flex the life forces again, unfortunately. Oh, unexpected. Okay. So, this is actually not bad, right? So I'm going to destroy a Tameo and then try to hit a land, I think. So yeah. I will be taking Misty Rainforest here. My opponent has heard the basic lands are good talk before and behaved accordingly. So, I don't have something like an Aether Spellbomb to tutor up. I don't have something like a Shadow Spear. Ooh, opponent might be getting cheeky. They're doing this in upkeep, potentially so that they can rotate a land away and shuffle. And here I am just worrying about Giant Murktide Regent, just killing me in 2-ish hits. Okay, not a shuffle. They found a land. They can use that to shuffle instead and still Murktide. I will take 1. 17. I don't remember if I said this out loud. I don't have a Shadow Spear to just make a bunch of Construct tokens and then race that Murktide Regent. I do have Exploration Life from the Loam, and so my plan might be just like very aggressively try to find Maze of Ith. Well, I was going to get one of those anyway. Ox Diamond, 2 mana, Life from the Loam, play land drop, play Exploration. Okay, so I think I'm good to make one of these here. Mox Diamond, discard a land. Mox Diamond, discard a land. Life from the Loam, 1, 2, 3. Hang 1 and 2. Could be a devastating force of negation, by the way. Okay, it did resolve. So on we go. I now want to get lands with different names in respect of Field of the Dead maybe doing something in a minute. Dismiss that. Then drop another Urza Saga. That was a hell of a fucking turn. So I am not taking damage from Elvish Reclaimer. So as of right now, I have 3 turns to either present lethal on my opponent through their board or otherwise find a Maze of Ith. I'm in okay shape. I am not in good shape, but I am in okay shape. So, Life from the Loam. Target the things I can target. 1 and 2. Play Saga. Play Misty. I don't think I am playing my Collector Ouphe to shut off a singular clue. I am, however, fine with swinging in for 4 damage. So, yeah. Opponent draws the card. That's all fine. Okay, they're just going to gain control of that creature, meaning my attack is invalidated. This can theoretically get bigger if Tamiyo gets involved. I think this is all about hitting an out to Murktide Regent off of Life from the Loam. I get 1 extra redraw off of Shadow Spear. Not Shadow Spear. Cycling Graveyard Hate. Golgari Lantern. I will go to 3. Get the Mortuary. Forest is not going to do it. That goes to Graveyard. Find Maze of Ith. That is Field of the Dead. So yeah, and yeah. Lose a land. Get Soul Guide Lantern. I will exile an artifact from my opponent's graveyard because Murktide Regent grows, for instance, in sorceries. I guess I could do the land for Elvish Reclaimer. I'm now going to draw a card. Attack. I need to attack while this is a 5/5. How many copies of Endurance do I have? Green Sun for Endurance is also live right now. Maybe I take a regular draw. No dredge. Elvish Reclaimer. Do I have any other recourse? I don't have a cycling land in graveyard. I'm dead. I did not need much more. I really did not need much more there. Just for giggles. I was 4 cards away from a maze. Yeah, did not need much more, but did need more. Okay, I am into Abrupt Decays for Tamiyos. I am into Karakas for Tamiyo. I might need Leyline of the Void for Murktide Regent. I'm not great at answering that once it is in play. I have some things that muck with the graveyard. I'm going to call that good enough. So let's go Ouphe out. I don't know how great the Thoughtseize effects are here. They're not bad enough that I want to cut all of them. I think I am going to trim them. I think I like having most of the options that I had in Game 1 available to me. This is Mana Light. I have some very important cards here, but I don't cast a lot of my spells. I'm going to mulligan this one and just be a little sad about it. I mean, we're all in, but damn, this one's good. I'll keep this and pitch a Wasteland. So, there's Exploration. There's Mox Diamond. Pitch a Wasteland. There's Karakas. There's Life from the Loam. Did not eat Force of Negation immediately. I am at a very large mana advantage. I don't get to just destroy my opponent with Wasteland, though. So that's a thing. I'm still going to do this, probably wow. Alright. Finishing the thought, I am still probably going to do that. Yeah. Yeah. I'm down. I've got Field of the Dead to hit. I've got Wasteland I've got Ghost Quarter to hit. I have Maze, Field, Ghost Quarter as the biggest payoffs. And honestly, just getting a fetch land or 2 to smooth things out is totally fine. I am not going to keep doing Life from the Loam forever. Planisphere is fine. Now Boseiju is something I can hit that's relevant. There's Loam. Yeah, that's a draw 3. So yeah, and yeah. I will go fetch land here. How many surveil lands do I have? 1. I have 1. Okay. I'm going to be cheeky. Cast a spell for me. Thrust down is fine. I can just get this Dryad Arbor right back, so this is not really a loss for me at all. Thrust down goes away, and I will surveil land now. Green Sun. Let's think about that. I can Green Sun for an Endurance, clear a couple of cards out of graveyard, and that's okay. Keen-Eyed Curator is something else that I could do. That gets big pretty quickly. I think that's good enough to keep. That means no dredge this turn. We'll go ahead and do this for x equals 2. That was good enough for a Force of Will. Pitching a Tamiyo. Tamiyo was not great because of Caracas. An opponent can fetch at end of turn and cycles a Lorien Revealed. Yep. Basic Island number 4. I think this is Murktide Regent time, unfortunately. Yep. So now there's 2 bodies in play. I am in some trouble. I am down to 15, facing down at 9 power. Finding Maze of Ith still very important, but I'm looking for 2 of those. I guess Osage, so I'm looking for 4 cards in particular. Dryad Arbor is not a bad fallback, at least for this turn. Ooh. Field, Dryad Arbor, fetch land. 1 and 2. 1, 2, 3, 4. We are not to everything yet because I do have multiple wastelands. This gives me a chump block. I am fine versus the stuff on the ground. This Murktide Regent might just get me in the air. And if I stall the board, my opponent can just, like, move the Planisphere and potentially make Murktide Regent even scarier than it already is. I get 2 more turns of Murktide Regent nonsense. Reg. Maze of Ith! Boseiju! Boseiju. Maze of Ith, Dryad Arbor. 1 and 2. No! This is now 10 damage on board. I don't have another Dryad Arbor. Opponent's got me. So GG's, that is going to put us at a 2-3 finish. Well, mission accomplished. We did counter a spell with Lifeforce, so we've got that going for us. Overall thoughts on the deck list. Honestly, not all that bad. I think it needs more copies of Maze of Ith. I don't know if they are supposed to be main or sideboard, but I think you need more of that effect if you are going to try to drag the games on as long as this one is doing. I guess my biggest question here in terms of overall deck design is what we are doing here, and by that I mean the main deck, is what we are doing here better than being the Life from the Loam, Malevolent Rumble, crop rotation version of this deck that already exists? The Green Sun package definitely did some stuff throughout the league, but it's slow. Like, Green Sun for Grist or Endurance is 4 mana. That's kind of a big deal. It is a great tool, but I am unsure whether that tool is better than just, moving your Endurances to the sideboard and just having a lower to the ground degree of consistency. With the exception of Lifeforce, which we knew was just cheeky and cute, the sideboard was pretty functional. Maybe you need more anti-creature removal if you're not maxed out on Maze of Iths. Like, I definitely felt that. But this was not an embarrassing list to play in terms of competitiveness, and this was a good balance of, like, doing a meme thing while having a deck that is good enough to support it. And many of the brews that I play on the channel don't succeed at that. So, like, overall, Nine-Headed Hydra, I'm going to give you a thumbs up on this one. You memed. It worked a bit, kind of, and we had a fun day. Alright, I think I'm going to call it a day there. I hope you all enjoyed. If you did, please consider leaving a comment or something on the way out. Helps the channel out a lot. Alright, have a great rest of the day. See you!